This is a quick video of the 3 examples that I showed in class. With the first example, which is problem 1 on your handout, we're trying to find this third side, side AB. You're given 2 sides and the angle between, so we use the law of cosines, where we write the 2 sides and the angle between in the formula on the right-hand side. Remember that this is saying that the third side is being squared, so we need to take the square root to find the measure of the third side, side AB. So plug that in our calculator. I want you to round to 1 decimal place, and because of the 9s, this is going to round up to 1, so it's going to be 21, but don't forget the point 0, because to round to 1 decimal place means you must have 1 decimal place in your answer. In the second example, which is also one of the problems on your handout, in this type of problem you're given all 3 sides and you're asked to find one of the angles. Make sure you identify 2 sides with the angle in question between, because it's these 2 sides and the angle between that goes on the right-hand side of the equation. So here's the 2 sides, 9 and 6, and the angle A. So in the formula, I've got the 2 sides and the angle between on the right-hand side, and the third side, that's not in that group, 14, on the left. We're trying to solve for cosine of A, so we need to get rid of all of these things here, the 9 squared, the 6 squared, this coefficient, and so we're going to subtract the 9 squared, subtract the 6 squared, and divide by this coefficient, and that equals cosine of A. We don't want to know what the cosine of the angle is. We want to know what the angle itself is. So if cosine of the angle is equal to this ratio, then the inverse cosine of the ratio will give us the angle. That's what we're looking for. So plug all this into your calculator, and you could plug this whole thing in your calculator. Keep the decimal answer, it'll be a long decimal, keep the whole thing, plug it into the inverse cosine function, and you get this, but you're to round it to 1 decimal place, and so you get 137.0 degrees. In the third type of problem, you're given 2 sides and the angle between, but that's not what's being asked for. What's being asked for is this angle. So this is a 2-step problem. Step number 1 is use the law of cosines to find the measure of this third side. And then step 2 is to use the 3 sides, like we did in the last problem, to find the angle. So step 1 is to find this side. So we use the fact that we've got these 2 sides and the angle between. So we use the 2 sides and the angle between in the formula. And we get that this third side, side AB here, squared is 625, and then all this long decimal. Take the square root. Remember, I'm keeping all of this in my calculator. And I get 25.00333, and then there's a bunch of other decimals. At this point, it's okay if you rounded it to at least 4 decimal places, 4 or 5. You've got to keep a bunch of them there. And now we know the third side of the triangle, so I'm going to place the third side of the triangle in that diagram. And now for step 2, we need 2 sides and the angle between, so we're going to use these 2 sides and the angle between in the law of cosines. And it's going to always equal that third side, 29 squared, so I've got that here, the third side squared. Again, in this problem, we're trying to solve for the angle A, so I have to get rid of all the stuff that precedes it. We have to get rid of 25.003 squared and the 28 squared, and then divide by this coefficient. So we've subtracted it and then divided by the coefficient, and this equals the cosine of the angle. So if I take the inverse cosine, and so here I simplified this, I put all of this in my calculator and got this long decimal, and I just used the cut and paste feature, you know, the second answer key on the graphing calculator, put that in here, and so we're taking the inverse cosine of all of that, and we get some long decimal answer, and we're going to round to 1 decimal place, and the answer is 66.1 degree. Remember, you're answering for an angle, so make sure you have your degree symbol. And those are the 3 examples.